When I talked to Ben Lynn, um, he had preached on something that night. And I told Ben that three things had happened in my life since he'd seen me last. I started my own ministry, I got married, and fought off stage 4 cancer. I asked him to pray with me that evening because the next 2 evenings we'd be doing just as I said, preparing for outreach and doing the work of our hands, which is exactly what he preached on that night. So I'm so blessed for this overflowing of offering, and it's just, I'm over the moon about it. So I'm so honored and thrilled. And so I asked him to pray with me that night, and I reached out and took his hand, and all he said was one thing, Father, and I immediately went down to the power, taking one of his rings with me. We gave it back, but the power of God is on his life, and I just love to hear how these glory stories occur. Out of darkness comes light. Out of his rebellion in his teen years and his youth comes the great victory of the Lord and the hand of God. So because I've been through a lot, I had to write out notes. And so I'm going to work from my notes today on my testimony of what God's been doing in the last couple of years of my life. So, and even before that, it was in Audrey and Wolfgang might even remember some of this. It was prophesied over me when we were in supernatural school together. So much that I was getting a little weary of the word, thinking of myself, can people say anything other than this? Because people would see me in a white dress, which is the reason I wore this white dress today, in fields of wheat, ready for harvest. Over and over and over again, they would say, I see you in a white dress in fields of wheat. And I thought, are they just talking among themselves finally? Is there no other fresh word? But it's because it was the word of the Lord. I had no idea what was coming about a decade later in my life. How many of you know that the devil doesn't like when we take souls from hell? So there's resistance. So in the 5 months before I started my ministry, the devil tried to kill me half a dozen times that year. And he's still trying, but he's not winning. 3 times cars tried to crash into me, and one huge SUV did, and it totaled my minivan as I went out to worship, gave me a concussion, until I started to declare, no plan of the devil is greater than the hand of the Lord. One night I was praying the song Refiner's Fire, and I meant it with all my heart. So still in concussion from that car accident, I lost my balance and broke my left leg and tore my ACL. Well, sorry, I actually need new glasses, I just found out. But while setting my broken leg, the hospital gave me too much ketamine. So 3 times the doctors were worried about my breathing and me getting enough oxygen. And I went into a tunnel and couldn't find my way out, but I did find my way out. And the devil did not take me out those half a dozen times, 5 months before starting the ministry. All this was to prepare me for what was to come. The month before, on Halloween of 2022, so I wrote out the testimony and I tried to keep it in a little bit order, but I'll go back and forth. Hopefully you can keep track. It was Halloween evening and I felt it was time to rake my leaves. I have great poplar trees and lots of leaves in my front yard. So while doing that, it's just, the Lord told me actually to rake on the inside of the outside first and then on the inside. So while doing that, people started coming to my house, and they never come to my house because it's a little bit hidden, the front door. But during that time, I led 11 people, families, mothers, fathers, and children to Jesus in my front yard. Didn't even have to leave home. And so while I was doing this, the Lord said to me, you take care of my business, and I'll take care of yours. So less than a year later, he gave me a husband to provide for me, who you see here today. Yeah, right. Beyond more than we can imagine. So, neither of us were looking for each other, my husband and I. We were looking for God. I invited him out to outreach, and he got to know him there and got to know how he handled situations on the street. He wasn't angry. He was calm, and the Lord brought us together. So how many of you know that he gives us the desires of our heart, even when we don't recognize them anymore? And all we're looking for is for him. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. And all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. I was just looking for Jesus, you see, with all my heart. And then he gave me a husband. Psalm 37:4 says, delight also yourself also in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So there's a couple of scriptures I learned as a child and often wondered about. One of them, God revealed to me in the last few years, the answers to those wonderings. The first one is Matthew 10:37 and 38. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son and daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. So I found out firsthand what the scripture meant is on the first day of the year 2022, the relationship of my entire family was ripped from me. My quietly rebelling little teenage daughter, my youngest daughter, Anna, lied to my family and to a social worker, and my adult son, with the help of my parents, took her from me. And now I know what that scripture means and how to walk it out. How many of you know that he uses the painful things in life to produce great fruit if we do it God's way? So I purposed in my heart not to be bitter or to hate my family, but to forgive my family when they hurt me, rejected me, abandoned me, and lied about me, or believed the lies about me. I couldn't. I could only love my children that I bore within me. I couldn't hate my children. I couldn't hate my parents. I could only love and forgive them. So I purposed to do it God's way, to do it differently this time, and not to hate, but to love. And that's when I truly found out how to forgive completely and fully, and to love, maybe not trust, but love, and receive them